Hello, I'm Stephanie.
And I'm Heather, and we're physical therapists at the Phoenix Clinic.
At the Phoenix Clinic, we've started a group class for patients with chronic pain to teach them a little bit about pain and pain neuroscience.
So this is really important because 1 in 3 Americans suffers from some type of chronic pain. And statistically speaking, even more of those people are coming through our doors because we're a physical therapy clinic, and an even higher percentage because we're a physical therapy clinic with a pool. And we want to make sure that we're doing a good job of caring for these patients well. A lot of these patients will come in and they'll say, I've been to physical therapy 3 times before, and I'm here because my doctor says I have to come in order to get my pain medication. And we as therapists are like, great, this is totally an attitude where we are ready for change. Not so much. So part of the reason that we came up with this class was to try and move patients to a phase of change where they're actually open to therapy and they might get something out of it.
Another reason is that there's fairly good research to show that there's a beneficial effect of chronic pain or education for patients with chronic pain. There's good studies that show that it improves outcomes in multiple constructs, including function and even in their pain level, after sitting down and just receiving an hour of education on pain.
Because pain is multifaceted. In our class, we talk about a definition for pain that includes the component that pain is based on actual or potential tissue damage, and that it's a sensory and emotional experience. And so people don't like pain. There's an emotional component to that. However, when we don't understand something, our anxiety levels go up. And that can overwhelm our nervous system a little bit to make the pain processing even harder. So it's important that we address both of those components. And we know that you are great at addressing the physical component and the tissue damage. And today we want to talk a little bit about the emotional component and the psychological component that maybe some therapists aren't as comfortable with. So we've come up with a few different metaphors and analogies to try and articulate that a little better to patients, especially because some of these patients don't always have very high healthcare education levels. So one of these analogies that I use, that I start really basic with, is I try to get patients to recognize that pain is something that is learned. Okay, so I say to patients, have you ever seen a little kid fall down and scrape up their knee, and then they kind of stop and look at their mom to see what they're going to do? They haven't quite decided yet if they're going to cry or not. And most patients have seen a child do that. And so people kind of nod their heads at me and say, oh yeah, I've seen that. And I say, okay, so what happens? If mom says, oh, you're fine, get back up, keep playing, the little kid gets back up like nothing happened. But if mom says, oh my gosh, my baby, bring on the waterworks. The baby starts crying and screaming and wailing. But there was no difference between the scrape on the knee and those 2 kids. What was different was how mom reacted. And so I do this to get patients to understand they've been learning how to respond to pain since they were really little. But the benefit to that is that things that can be learned can also be unlearned.
The next analogy helps patients understand the impact of their emotions and attitudes on their pain. It also attempts to instruct them in how the brain has the ability to control or regulate their pain, but in a non-confrontational manner. Because we all know it's very difficult to talk to a patient about the fact that a lot of what's going on is in their head, literally, because it has to do with the central processing of the brain. So I use this analogy of the stubbed toe. So, if I'm having a bad day, I woke up late and I hit a lot of traffic on the way to work and I stubbed my toe walking in the door to the clinic, that toe hurts like crazy. It stings, I'm cursing, I'm limping, that toe hurts me so much. Well, do you think that the injury to my toe is a lot worse than maybe on a typical day? No, probably not. What happened is that stress and anxiety that I was feeling actually made my toe pain feel worse. And you may have already experienced that. You may have experienced a day where you're feeling stressed, or something maybe might have happened in your life that has caused you stress or feeling sad or other emotions, and you notice that your pain actually gets worse. It's really common. On the other hand, what happens if I stub my toe as I'm walking through the door to my house just to find that my husband has planned a surprise birthday party and all my family and friends are there and there's cake and presents? Do you think that I'm cursing and I'm limping around focused on my toe? No, because my brain at that moment had the ability to calm that down, because it was much more interested in the fun I was about to have. The brain had the ability to say, okay, don't curse in front of your 4-year-old nephew. You're fine. It's not that bad. You'll be fine. Walk it off. It's pretty cool and pretty amazing that the brain has the ability to do that, to either increase your pain level for a reason, maybe having to do with stress, or at the same time calm it down.
So our brain has this really important and incredible ability to do something called prioritize. So another analogy I use to explain that to patients is that, let's say I'm running across the street and I fall down and I sprain my ankle, but there's a bus coming at me. Now, in that moment, I all of a sudden am physically capable of getting up and running out of the street, even though I have a sprained ankle. And my ankle doesn't actually hurt. Why? Because I'm so focused on getting out of the way of the bus, because my brain has decided that the bus is a greater threat to my safety than my sprained ankle. Now, once I'm out of the street and I'm sitting on the sidewalk on the curb, I may not even be able to get up and walk because my ankle hurts so bad. And the ankle sprain really wasn't any different 30 seconds beforehand. What was different is what my brain decided was important. And that's something that patients can learn to leverage and utilize in order to make their pain less of a priority to their body and something they focus on less. Because we all know that when patients focus on pain, and that's the only thing that they think about, they perseverate on it, everything in their life comes back to their pain. They come in for therapy, and the whole hour they spend telling you how this hurts and that hurts, and how they can't do every single exercise you give them because everything hurts. That is a brain that's prioritizing pain in a way that's excessive.
So we hope that these analogies and little stories that we use were helpful for you. There are other videos that you can find on the cloud that will go over other topics that we use to teach people about pain.